In the heart of Sandton, Johannesburg, where the skyline glitters with wealth and ambition, Olma Makona, a quiet young woman from Soweto, took a housekeeping job she never expected would change her life. She had no connections. No big dreams. Only a need to survive and secrets she never told anyone. And on one fateful night, her exhausted body would find rest in a place she never belonged, the penthouse suite of a reclusive billionaire. But what she didn't know is that the billionaire was about to walk in. Olma Makona didn't speak much. She came to work on the GO train every day. Arrived early. Left late. Her colleagues gossiped during tea breaks, but Olma always had earphones in, mopping floors and scrubbing tiles with quiet determination. No one knew much about her. Only that she was different. There was elegance in her simplicity. And pain behind her beautiful brown eyes. When she was assigned to clean the gold-wing presidential suite at the 5-star Velmore Royal Sandton, most of the other staff were jealous. "Yo Olma, that's the big guy's room," one cleaner whispered. "Don't even touch anything that looks too expensive. The last girl who broke a vase there got fired." Olma entered the penthouse quietly. The moment she stepped in, the air changed. The entire top floor was larger than her entire family home. Rich mahogany wood. Passion rugs. A chandelier that looked like it belonged in a royal palace. Everything smelled of leather and lavender. She wiped every counter, folded every towel, and even fluffed the silk pillows on the king-sized bed. It was already late, and the rest of the staff had gone home. The city twinkled outside the massive windows, Sandton City Mall, Nedbank Towers, and the traffic lights below blinking in red and green. She was exhausted. Her feet ached in her worn-out tackies. She told herself, just 5 minutes. She took off her shoes, sat on the edge of the bed, and let her body rest. Just 5 minutes. But 5 minutes turned into 2 hours. Liam Van Dyke was a name that echoed across Johannesburg's elite circles. He owned tech companies, farms in Mpumalanga, private hospitals, and even part of a rugby team. But no one ever saw him at events for long. He kept his distance. A tall man, early 40s, with sharp blue eyes and a gaze that could intimidate a boardroom. He had just come back from an exhausting launch party in Rosebank. His face tight from faking smiles. He hated crowds. He hated the noise. He just wanted to crash in peace. But when he entered his suite and tossed his keys on the table, he froze. There, curled up like a small child, was a woman. Sleeping. He stepped closer, his boots silent against the thick carpet. His eyes narrowed. Was this a setup? Had someone planted a woman in his room to trap him? Blackmail. But then he saw the uniform. The Velmore Royal cleaning badge. The cleaning cart still by the door. Her tackies lined up perfectly next to it. And her chest rising and falling gently in sleep. She looked exhausted. Not seductive. Not malicious. Just tired. And something in him softened. Almost stirred. Her eyes blinked open. First confusion. Then terror. She shot up from the bed, barefoot, stumbling backwards. "Sir, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to. Please, I was just resting. I didn't think you'd be back so soon. I know I'm not supposed to be here." Her words stumbled over each other. Her accent, pure Josie Township, cracked with fear. She looked around for her shoes, ready to run. But Liam raised his hand gently. "It's okay." That was all he said. Olma froze. He stepped closer. "You didn't steal anything. You didn't hide. You just passed out." He pointed at her shoes. "You even took those off politely." Olma didn't know what to say. Liam handed her a glass of still water from the minibar and motioned toward the couch. "Sit. For just 5 more minutes." His voice was calm now. Almost kind. Olma sat. Trembling. Silent. Liam took off his blazer, loosened his collar, and sat across from her. The silence between them wasn't awkward. It was curious. "What's your name?" he asked. "Olma," she replied softly. "Makona." He nodded. "I'm Liam." She smiled faintly, trying not to cry. "I know who you are, sir." That night they spoke for 15 minutes. Then 30. Then an hour. Olma told him about her mother in Diepkloof. About dropping out of nursing college to work. About the fire that took her home. Liam listened. He didn't offer pity. Just silence and presence. And then he told her about his late wife. His estranged brother. His own loneliness. The city slept outside the window. And inside the penthouse, something rare was happening. Two strangers from two different worlds were quietly seeing each other for the first time. Not skin. Not wealth. Not background. But truth. By 5 a.m., Olma stood to leave. "I'll be fired for this," she whispered. Liam stood too. "You won't." "How do you know?" "Because I own this place." She stared at him. "You, what?" "Velmore is mine." "No one's firing you." "A bit." "You do your job well, Olma." "That's rare." "I see it." She nodded slowly. Still unsure if she was dreaming. Olma walked out that morning with her turkeys in her hand and hope in her chest. What she didn't know was that this was not the end. It was only the beginning. Because sometimes accidents aren't accidents. And sometimes falling asleep in the wrong room might just lead you into the right story. The next morning, Olma returned to work like nothing happened. She didn't tell anyone. Not her roommate. Not her supervisor. Not even her reflection in the mirror. But as she was finishing up cleaning the 17th floor, the guest relations manager called her aside. "Mr. Van Dyke requested your presence." Now. Her heart nearly stopped. "Why?" The woman just shrugged. "I don't ask questions about billionaires." Olma stepped into a minimalist glass office with a full view of the Sandton skyline. Liam stood behind a desk, dressed in a white shirt, no tie. He didn't smile. But he didn't look angry either. "You've had a rough life, haven't you?" he asked softly. "I don't want pity, sir," Olma replied quickly. "Good," he nodded. "Because I'm not offering any." Then he slid a folder across the table. Inside, an application form, a contract, and a crisp check. "What is this?" "A proposal. I need someone I can trust in this hotel. Not just someone who cleans, but someone who observes. Notices details. Like how you noticed my cufflinks weren't where they were supposed to be last night." Olma blinked. She had noticed that. But how did he know? "You want me to spy?" "No," he said firmly. "I want you to watch. And tell me the truth." That's something people stopped doing a long time ago. She looked at the check again. It had more zeros than she'd ever seen in one place. "Why me?" "Because you're the only one here who wasn't trying to impress me." Olma sat at the taxi rank in Bree Street, contract in hand. She thought of her mother. Her late father. The debt hanging over her family like a storm. Can I trust him? Or is this just another rich man's game? Back at the hotel, a sleek woman in heels entered Liam's office. "Sir, I saw Olma Makona leaving your floor again. Do I need to remind you how the last woman got you on the front page?" Liam didn't even blink. "Let me worry about Olma." That night, Olma walked back into the penthouse. This time not with a mop and bucket, but with questions and a decision. "If I do this, I'm not pretending to be someone I'm not." "Good," Liam replied. "That's exactly why I chose you." Camera pans to the Sandton skyline. A storm brews in the distance. The late afternoon sun baked the rooftops of Soweto, casting long shadows on the dusty paths where kids played barefoot, shouting over the hum of passing taxis and the gospel music spilling from nearby houses. Alma Makona stepped off the Relive bus with her bag clutched tightly to her chest. She hadn't walked these streets in months, not because she didn't want to, but because home reminded her of everything she had buried just to breathe in Sandton. People stared as she passed. A pair of aunties standing by a corner gate whispered behind their hands. One of them muttered that the girl who ran off to clean rich people's floors had come back. And not even a dog on her head. Alma ignored the stairs and headed down the narrow path toward the house at the end of the street. Her mother's house. 2 rooms. Brown curtains. Always smelling like maize meal and Dettol. The door creaked open before she could knock. Her mother stood there, arms crossed, a face unreadable. She said flatly that Alma didn't call. Alma replied quietly, "I needed to see you." Her mother stepped aside wordlessly, and Alma walked in. That's when she saw him. Sizwe, her younger brother, curled up on the couch like a wounded animal. His skin was pale, his body shaking. A heavy bandage wrapped across his shoulder. Alma dropped her bag and rushed to him. "Sizwe, what happened?" Her mother closed the door and sighed deeply. "He was shot. Wrong place, wrong time. He says he saw something at that tuck shop behind the spa. Now the boys want him silenced." Alma turned to her mother, eyes wide. "And you didn't tell me?" "I didn't want to worry you," her mother replied. "You are trying to start over in that Sandton life. We didn't want to drag you back into this." Alma's voice cracked as she said, "You're not dragging me. You're mine." Back in Sandton, Alma stepped off the GO train and walked straight to the hotel. Her uniform was gone now, replaced by a black blouse and a simple but neat pair of flats. She passed through the staff entrance with purpose, but the stairs followed her. Anika, Liam's personal assistant, spotted her and sneered. She said, "It's upgraded already, huh? From mop to makeup. Must be nice." Alma didn't respond. She just walked past. She had bigger things on her mind. Liam stood behind his glass desk, watching the skyline of Johannesburg stretch far into the horizon. He didn't look at her as she entered, but his voice was low when he spoke. "You look tired." Alma set a brown envelope on his desk and said, "I went home." She stepped back and added, "This is the money you gave me. I can't take it. Not until I earn it." Liam turned then, slowly, his expression unreadable. "What happened?" he asked. Alma didn't look at him as she said, "My brother's in danger. He was shot. I need to move him somewhere safe." "He didn't ask for this." Liam's tone softened. "And neither did you." She exhaled sharply. "I'm not telling you so you can fix it. I'm telling you because I needed to say it to someone who wouldn't collapse under it." Liam walked around his desk. "Let me help. I know a man who runs a discreet recovery facility in Midrand. Private. Safe." Alma shook her head. "I've been helped before, and it always comes at a cost. Always." Then she looked him straight in the eye. "I want to trust you. But I can't afford to be wrong." Liam replied gently, "Then let me prove I'm not like the others." At a sleek apartment in Rosebank, Danica swallowed red wine in a crystal glass while speaking on the phone. "She's back in his office again," she said. "He's watching her like she's more than a project." A deep male voice on the line asked, "You sure she's not just cleaning again?" Anika chuckled bitterly. "No one cleans in heels." The voice responded, "Then keep watching. If he's falling for her, we'll use that." Anika smiled to herself. The township girl has no idea what game she's entered. A few hours later, a sleek black Mercedes parked outside Alma's mother's house. 2 men in polo shirts and soft voices stepped out and helped Sizwe into the back seat. His mother looked uncertain but said nothing as they loaded him in gently. Alma hugged her mother tightly. "I'll call every day," she promised. Her mother held on to her and said, "Whatever this man is giving you, Alma, just make sure it's not costing you too much." Later that evening, Alma entered the penthouse again. But this time, she wasn't carrying a mop. She wasn't wearing a uniform. She carried tension on her shoulders, but also clarity in her eyes. Liam was seated at the dining table with 2 mugs of coffee already waiting. "I want to show you something," he said. He opened a leather-bound file. Inside were old photographs, newspaper clippings, a burned farmhouse. Alma stared down, confused. "What is this?" she asked. "My past," he replied quietly. "The part no one talks about. You're not the only one with shadows, Alma." As the lights of Sandton flickered outside the penthouse window, Alma Makona sat across from a man who wasn't just wealthy, but broken, just like her. In a city built on gold and silence, the truth was the rarest currency of all. And that night, 2 ghosts, one from Soweto, the other from White Borival tragedy, sat together at the edge of something neither of them saw coming. Something dangerous. Something real. Johannesburg pulsed with life. Traffic lights blinked across the streets of Sandton. Expensive cars snaked their way into hotel parking lots, their drivers dressed in black suits and satin gowns. Camera flashes bounced off marble steps. Charity banners flapped in the breeze, announcing the Velmore Annual Gala for Children's Heart Surgery Fund. Inside the hotel, preparations were in full swing. Crystal chandeliers sparkled overhead. Tables were laid with gold-rimmed cutlery. And behind the scenes, something unexpected was happening. Alma Makona stood in front of a full-length mirror. She barely recognized herself. The velvet green gown hugged her body softly, modest but regal. Her hair had been swept into a low bun, accentuated with gold pins. Her skin shimmered faintly under the makeup brush strokes of a woman who didn't even ask her name. She whispered to herself, "This isn't me." But another voice cut through the silence. Liam stood in the doorway, wearing a tailored charcoal suit that fit him like it had been stitched on his soul. "You look like you were born for this," he said simply. Alma turned, flustered. "I look like someone playing dress-up." He walked closer, eyes soft. "No. You look like someone finally being seen." As Alma walked beside Liam into the grand ballroom, heads turned. Folks paused midair. Whispers rose like steam from champagne glasses. Some of Johannesburg's richest women scanned her from head to toe, confused, judging, calculating. And on the far end of the room, Anika stood by a man in a grey suit, her expression sharp as broken glass. She muttered under her breath, "Here comes the Cinderella from Soweto." And Alma sat at a private table near the center. An MC rattled off speeches. Donations rolled in. The music swelled with grace. But Alma couldn't eat. Not because the food was strange, but because of the weight of the room pressing down on her. She whispered to Liam, "They are all watching me." He leaned in slightly. "Let them." "Don't you care?" she asked. His voice was calm. "I used to. Then I realized their stares don't change who I am." Alma's fork trembled slightly as she said, "You're used to this world." "I'm not." "No," Liam said, "I'm used to pretending." "You're the one being real." A woman approached their table. She was older, dressed in royal blue lace and diamond earrings that screamed old Sandton money. Without asking, she said, "And you are?" Alma stood slowly. "Alma Makona." The woman raised an eyebrow. Are you part of Liam's philanthropic outreach?" Alma's cheeks flushed. Liam stood beside her and answered, "She's part of my life." The silence that followed was thick. The woman blinked, smiled tightly, and walked away. Alma stepped onto the balcony alone. The Josie skyline stretched endlessly, lights dancing like fireflies. She leaned against the rail, trying to steady her breathing. Liam joined her after a moment. He didn't say anything right away. Then he said, "I know this was too much." She shook her head. No. This was necessary. She turned to him, eyes vulnerable but clear. For once, I felt seen. Not pitied. Not invisible. Just seen. Liam looked at her then, not as a guest, not as an employee. As Alma. You were never invisible, Alma. People just don't look properly. Their eyes lingered. And for a brief moment, the city disappeared. Anika handed a flash drive to the man in the grey suit. She whispered, "It's all here. Photos. CCTV footage. Her cleaning record. The night she slept in his suite." The man nodded. "Good. That's leverage." Anika added, "He thinks she's innocent. Let's see how innocent she looks on the front page." Liam and Alma left the gala together, walking slowly down the corridor back toward the private elevator. Alma held her heels in her hand now. Her feet were sore. Her heart full. Uncertain. Alive. Liam pressed the elevator button and turned to her. "I hope you know, this isn't charity." She looked up at him. "Then what is it?" He didn't answer. Because the elevator didn't open. But his eyes. They said everything. In a city where class speaks louder than truth and secrets move faster than cars on the M1, sometimes, it only takes one night to change everything. But not every fairy tale ends in a ballroom. Some of them unravel just after. The Johannesburg skyline glittered like a field of stars. From the penthouse balcony, it looked calm, endless. Peaceful. But inside Liam Van Dyke's penthouse, the calm was just the silence before the storm. Alma Makona stood barefoot in the living room, still wearing the emerald green gown from the gala. She had taken off the jewelry. Let her hair down. But sleep wouldn't come. Not tonight. Not with the weight of too many stairs and too many questions still clinging to her skin. Liam had gone upstairs, mumbling something about taking a call from London. Alma paced. Then paused at the bookshelf, tall, sleek, built into the wall. Something strange caught her eye. One of the books was fake. Just a cover. She touched it gently. It slid inward with a soft click. A hidden panel opened. Inside was a short hallway, dark, silent, humming faintly with electricity. Alma hesitated. But then stepped inside. The hidden room was small and sterile. A desk. 3 locked drawers. 2 screens. And one wall covered in photos. Alma stepped closer. The photos weren't just of boardrooms or buildings. They were of people. Young women. Black women. Some in uniforms. Some smiling. Others or not. She scanned their names, each neatly labeled. A few she recognized from the staff list. But there was one photo that made her freeze. Her own face. Pinned to the center. Dated. Marked with the words, "Watch closely." She stepped back, her heart thudding. Liam came down the stairs just as she emerged from the passage. He stopped mid-step. Their eyes locked. For a moment, silence clamped the air. Then Alma spoke, her voice low, trembling. "You were watching me." Liam didn't deny it. He simply said, "Yes." Alma's face twisted with hurt. "Why?" Liam walked forward slowly. "Because the night I found you in my bed wasn't random." Alma blinked. "What are you talking about?" He stopped. Took a breath. "You weren't planted. But you were predicted." He moved past her, sat down, and rubbed his hands together like a man at war with his own skin. "There have been others. Staff members. Some were spies. Others tried to trap me. After my brother leaked part of my estate to the media, I stopped trusting people." He looked at her. "You were different. Quiet. Focused. But I had to be sure. Alma's voice cracked as she asked, "So all of this, me at the gala, the dress, the job, was just part of your little project?" "No," Liam said quickly. "That started as protection. But it became something else." She laughed bitterly. "Became convenient, you mean?" "No, Alma. It became real." She turned away. Thunder rolled across the Josie sky. A real storm had broken out, lightning flashing over the buildings, rain pounding on the glass windows. Inside, the tension cracked louder than the thunder. Alma turned back to him. Her voice steadier now. "I trusted you. I let you see parts of me I've never shown anyone. But you were collecting me like data." Liam stood. "It's not like that." "Then what is it like, Liam?" she asked. "Explain it in a way that doesn't sound like betrayal." He stepped forward. Slowly. "I fell for you, Alma. Before I could stop myself." Tears burned her eyes, but she wouldn't let them fall. She stepped back. "You don't get to fall for people while dissecting their lives behind closed doors." She walked to the door. He didn't follow. She turned once more. Voice shaking now. "If you ever respected me, Liam, don't come after me tonight." Then she left. The elevator ride down felt like forever. Her reflection in the mirrored wall didn't look like the woman who walked into this life. This version of Alma was bruised. Not broken. But furious. Awake. She whispered to herself, "Never again." Back upstairs, Liam stood at the wall of photos. He slowly removed Alma's picture. Stared at it. Then tore it in half. In a city of lights and lies, the truth always finds its way out of hiding. But when trust is shattered, not even love can fix the cracks without bleeding fast. The Sandton skyline woke to grey clouds and cold wind. Rain hadn't come yet, but it was in the air, heavy, waiting. Liam Van Dyke stood at the top of the Memorial building, arms crossed as he stared out over Johannesburg. Below him, businesses opened. Lives moved. The city didn't care who you were unless you gave it a reason to notice. But today, his name was going to be on every screen, every phone, and every tongue. Because his brother was back. A breaking news banner scrolled across TV screens. Former Van Dyke co-CEO, Peter Van Dyke, returns to Johannesburg, threatens to expose years of mismanagement, secrecy, and internal corruption. Peter stood before the press, charming, sharp, and dangerous. His accent rich with Afrikaner confidence, his words polished with vengeance. He said calmly, "My brother Liam has tried to keep the Van Dyke name clean. But what he hides in boardrooms and bedrooms will come to light." The crowd murmured. He added, "This isn't revenge. It's responsibility." At the Soweto clinic, Alma watched the announcement on a small TV mounted in the waiting area. She stood frozen. Liam's name. Photos of the hotel. Shots of her, blurred but unmistakable. One of the nurses said, "Isn't that you?" Alma turned, forcing a weak smile. "No. Just someone who looks like me." But her stomach twisted. The story was out. The scandal had broken. And she hadn't even heard it from Liam. Liam drove out of Sandton that afternoon. Long gravel roads. Fields rolling into the horizon. The Van Dyke estate still stood like a fortress, old money, old secrets. He packed. His brother Peter met him at the stairs. They didn't shake hands. Peter said, "Welcome home. Or what's left of it." Liam replied coldly, "What do you want?" Peter smirked. "You've been hiding behind your ghosts. Now it's time they spoke." Inside the farmhouse dining room, old portraits loomed over the brothers. Their father. Their grandfather. Generations of Van Dykes. Peter poured himself whiskey and said, "You think Johannesburg forgives rich men who play victim? You think they'll ignore the surveillance program, the women, the secrets you locked in that penthouse room?" Liam didn't flinch. I've already shut it down. Owned my mistake. Peter leaned forward. But it's too late. The moment you brought her into your world, you gave them a face. A black girl from the township wrapped in scandal. They'll eat it up. And when they do, I'll be the one standing clean. Liam's jaw tightened. If you touch her. Peter raised his hands. I won't have to. The media already has. Alma sat alone in her room. The story was everywhere now. Bloggers. Twitter. Voice notes flying on WhatsApp groups. Some said she was a gold digger. Others called her brave. But Alma didn't care what they thought. She cared about one thing. He hadn't warned her. He hadn't protected her. Not this time. Liam stood at her gate under the street lamp's pale glow. He looked like a man who hadn't slept in days. She stepped outside, arms folded. He said quietly, I should have told you. I wanted to. I just didn't know how. Alma didn't speak. So he said, if my brother is trying to burn me down. But he's dragging you through the flames. She asked him plainly, why didn't you stop this before it became a storm? Liam's voice cracked just slightly. Because I thought I could fix it before it touched you. Alma shook her head. You still don't get it, Liam. I'm not something to be protected. I'm a person. I deserve the truth. Not after. Not during. But before. She stepped closer. Then said the words that would draw the line between who they were and who they'd become. If you want to fight your brother, fine. If you want to save your empire, do it. She looked him in the eyes. But don't use me as your redemption arc. Liam whispered, then what do I do? Alma replied, steady and strong, choose. Power or honesty. Silence or truth. The empire your family built, or the future you could build with me. Peter smiles on a news broadcast, shaking hands with investors. Alma steps into a hall filled with young girls, leading a workshop. Liam stands alone in his office, facing a framed photo, not of his family legacy, but of Alma smiling during one of their first private moments. Outside the Velmore Hotel, protesters begin gathering. Some chanting for justice. Others demanding truth. And above it all, the storm builds, not in the sky this time, but in the hearts of two people who must decide what matters more. The past that built them. Or the future they could build from scratch. The air smelled of dust and firewood. A young Liam, barely 16, stood by a barn while his father yelled at Peter inside. Words like inheritance, shame, and mistake bounced off wooden walls. Liam didn't speak. He just watched. He had learned young that in this family, silence was survival. But now, years later, silence would no longer save him. Alma walked slowly through the white stone corridors of the Van Dyke estate, her boots clicking on marble floors older than democracy. The woman she came to see was waiting. Eleanor Van Dyke, Liam and Peter's mother, sat in a high-back chair, dressed in beige linen, a cup of rooibos untouched in her hand. Eleanor said calmly, so, you're the girl from the photographs. Alma replied, and you're the woman who raised two sons at war. Eleanor blinked once, then smiled faintly. You're bolder than I expected. Alma stepped forward. I'm not here for you to expect anything. I'm here because your sons are about to destroy each other. And I won't be used as a weapon. Eleanor leaned back, eyes sharp. You think love is enough to save Liam from this family? Alma answered, no. But truth is. In a quiet boardroom, the Van Dyke brothers faced off one last time. The room was empty except for a notary, 2 glasses of water, and the contract Peter brought. Peter tapped the folder. Step down. Sign the holdings to me. Walk away. Liam replied, and let you sell the company to foreign bidders. Fire everyone you can't control. No. Peter stood, laughing bitterly. Still playing the noble one, hey. Even after they turned on you. Liam stood too. I'm not perfect. But I'm not you. Just as Peter leaned forward to speak, a loud bang shattered the glass door. A brick had been thrown, followed by shouts from protesters gathered outside. Chaos erupted. The security guards scrambled. Cameras flashed. And in the chaos, someone shoved. Peter fell, striking his head against the corner of the table. Blood bloomed beneath him. Liam froze. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. Nurses walked past with trays. Monitors beeped rhythmically. Liam sat slouched in a plastic chair, elbows on knees. Olma walked in quietly. He looked up. Eyes red. Face pale. They said he might not wake up, he whispered. Olma sat beside him. Neither spoke for a while. Then he said, "You were right. The truth cost more than I expected." She replied, "But at least now, it's done." A week later, Liam stood in front of a room full of media, flanked by lawyers. He took a breath. "I'm stepping down as CEO of the Van Dyke Group," he announced. "Not because I've lost. But because I refuse to win like this." He paused. Effective immediately, the company's healthcare holdings will be restructured into an independent trust run by community-led boards. Starting in Soweto. Flashes. Gasps. And then silence. Until someone clapped. Just one. But it grew. And in that sound, Liam knew. He had let the empire fall to build something real. The old clinic had become something new. Brighter paint. New medical equipment. A staff bus donated anonymously. Olma stood at the front gates, clipboard in hand, giving instructions to volunteers. She smiled more now. She had grown into her power, not borrowed it. Sizwe jogged past, joking with nurses. Life had moved forward. And then she heard the voice. "Looks different from the penthouse, doesn't it?" She turned. Liam stood near the entrance. In jeans. Holding 2 cups of coffee. She smiled. "Just a little." "You came back," she said. "I never really left," he answered. He handed her the coffee. No kiss. No promises. Just peace. A woman once underestimated now leads change in her own name. A man once buried in legacy now walks unburdened. And a love that began in a mistake ends in a choice. Because not all fairy tales are about castles. Some are about clinic walls. Boardroom confessions. And 2 people. Who dared to become more than what the world expected of them. The end.